Welcome to the 2019 MLS Adidas Player Combine, the final game of the Combine here in Orlando at Orlando City Soccer Stadium. I'm David Gosh, joined by Bobby Warshaw for this one. We've already had one great game here today, a 2-1 victory in our first game. Team X taking a win over Team Nemesis. Now we've got our final game of play. Last chance for these young players to prove to these coaches, these front offices, that they can be a difference for them. They're the guy that they should bring in on the MLS SuperDraft on Friday, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got Team Copa in white, and we've got Team Predator in red. For Team Copa, starting along the back line, an exciting young player, Griffin Dorsey, a U20 international for the United States. He'll start at right back for Team Copa. At central midfield, center back, Mitchell Osman will partner Scott DeVos. And at left back, Janos Luba, number 36 in white, who's played an attacking role his whole career, will get a run out here at left back. Two-man holding midfield, Brad Dunwell, number 22. You see there in your picture. He'll partner the Caribbean Combine winner, Peter Lee Vassell, in that central midfield. And then we've got an attacking three in front of them of Kyle Coffey, Emil Cuejo, and Joey Piacic. And up top, the third leading goal scorer in the nation, J.J. Williams, 6'3", out of the University of Kentucky, was a finalist for the Mac Hermann Trophy, and you see him right there, number 38, jogging up to the front to take our kickoff. Pyle will be in goal for Team Copa. On the flip side for Team Predator, a host of changes here. Coming in, Jimmy Haig will start this game in goal. You can see there, Kamal Miller, number 67, your left center back. He'll partner Patrick Bunk Anderson out of Copenhagen. The two fullbacks for this team, Harry Swartz at right back and Sam Junka at left back. A two-man defensive, a 4-4-2 for this team. On the left side, Saeed Haji, one of the Generation Adidas signings out of VCU, the best attacking player in the nation. Two-man midfield of Robbie Mertz and Andrew Samuels. Right midfield, Tajon Buchanan, one of the favorites to go number one in this Super Draft in red, number 74. And up top, the two forwards, Rashawn Daly, number 68, Jamaican full international, and Simon Enstrom out of Boston College. Bobby, a lot to take in there, so let's let everyone digest for a moment. But the final Combine game of the 2019 MLS Adidas Player Combine, we saw a really good game in our first set of games. What are you looking for from these two teams?
At any event like this, you just want to see who makes the most of it. This is such a wonderful opportunity for these players to get to be on this field in front of everyone in Major League Soccer, all the coaches, all the assistant coaches, all the executives. And a good day today can make so many things happen in your life, and it's always special to see those moments come in life and who can truly take advantage of them.
Not exactly all of them. The Columbus Crew obviously have some things going on today. Caleb Porter going to be announced later on, so they took a nice little flight out last night.
But Pat Onstad is here. They do have representation at the draft.
And everyone does. Everyone is looking at where they can get players. It seems like when you talk to coaches and executives so far, it's a solid draft class. There isn't one or two guys that jumps out that you say, that guy's going to be Kyle Larin, that guy's going to be Andre Blake. International difference makers, but everyone seems happy with the idea of one or two solid players in this class.
Usually there are tiers when you discuss the draft. There are guys who are certainly going to go 1 to 3. There are guys who are certainly going to go somewhere from 2 to 10 and then 10 to 15 and so on. But this year, David, as we talk to these coaches, it's really hard to gauge. It feels like some players may go 1, they may go 15. Everyone seems to be in this general group that could be somewhere in the first round.
One of the players that people are looking highly at is Frankie Amaya, USU 20 international from UCLA. He is on this Team Predator in red, but it seems like he's chosen not to play in this game. Already has a contract as a Generation Adidas, has a little bit of an injury, was training with the USU 20s, and is asked to not play here today.
A little bit of hamstring tightness. He decided to take some precaution, didn't want to have an injury heading into preseason, and in his place, it is Haji stepping in. He was originally not going to start, so not a bad option either for the team in red.
Team Predator and Team Copa in this game because they both lost In their first game, Team Predator, a 2-0 loss to Team X. Team Copa, a 4-1 loss to Team Nemesis on our first day of games. One of the things to note from this is last year, the last player brought into the MLS Combine, Luis Argudo, ended up starting and playing for Columbus Crew SC, so you have no idea. These guys, some of them, Harry Swartz here, played midfield his whole career, playing at right back. In this game, we've got Griffin Dorsey, who was one of the best attackers in college soccer at Indiana University, an All-American at right midfield, playing at right back here today. So a lot to still learn about these guys. And that one taken away by Peter Lee Vassell right before Mertz could get a shot away. Cuejo opening up play now. Kyle Coffey here on the left wing charging forward. J.J. Williams comes outside for the run. Cuejo lays it out there for Williams, closing on the ball, and his shot is wide of the near post.
And very good soccer from Team Copa to start this game. You don't often see third man runs like that in a situation like the Combine. Here we see it goes Coffey to Cuejo, back outside to the third man who peeled his run wide. A nice combination from Team Copa here in the first 5 minutes.
J.J. Williams, 6'3", 18 goals this season, third in the nation, brings physical qualities, brings finishing technique, a lot that these coaches are excited about. And when you talk about the center forward pool, Andre Shinashiki had a really good day the first day, but a completely different profile from what J.J. Williams brings, who, along with probably Santiago Patino, Bobby, is my backup center forward, my guy who can hold players off when I need a start here or there for at least the first year or two of their MLS careers.
It feels like there are 4 buckets when you think about these draft picks. The first is, how much are they going to be able to help us in this upcoming year? The second one is, what is their total upside as a player? The third one is, what is their asset appreciation? And the fourth one is, how can they help us in a certain position? And J.J. Miller fits into the bucket to say... J.J. Williams says he fits into this bucket of maybe he doesn't help us in 2019, but his general upside might be as high as anyone in the draft.
Williams out of Montgomery, Alabama. Not exactly a soccer hotbed in the past, although with the expansion of USL, with the championship, Division I and Division II, more soccer teams coming in. Jay Heaps will be starting a team in Birmingham. Chandler Hoffman, native of the area, will get an opportunity to play with them, which is pretty exciting for 2019. And a lot of these players coming from areas that maybe don't yet have MLS academies that they can feed into. On the flip side, some of them like Joey Pichek, who's played with SKC, played with the Kansas City Wizards, was in their academy for a number of years, but now coming through college soccer and looking to get a second shot at his start of a pro career. And when you talk to a guy like Piachik, a lot of realistic expectations of what this experience means, what the draft could mean for them. Piachik on the ball now, looking to cut it back. Cuejo in the box, has a teammate to the side. These two go down in a heap, and Mertz comes away with possession. Piachik now a second chance. Dorsey here, higher up the field, getting to the end line. He clips across over the top, knocked away at the far post, and now Buchanan looking to clear his lines.
A very strong start from Griffin Dorsey, and this is a particularly important day for him at the Combine because, as you mentioned, David, he played winger for most of his college career, but here we play him outside back. When coaches look at his skill set and profile as a player, they see someone who might and probably will be a better outside back than an attacker.
And let's talk about the position, right? Wing backs instead of fullbacks, as more teams play with 3 center backs, and those quote-unquote fullbacks have a higher starting position, are asked to do more attacking-wise. He could fit into a system like that really nicely.
Spot on.
Whoa, Bobby. You're throwing me off with the compliments.
I mean, you nailed it. Nothing to add.
Moving up the field now, Team Predator in red, going right to left on your screens. Drag down there, Harry Swartz out of soccer powerhouse Northeastern University, up in Boston, of course.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Coached by Chris Bondi, one of the higher draft picks when he came out. Herman Mack winner, legend down at FC Dallas, spent some time overseas as well, I believe with IK Start. Now back coaching here in the United States. Swartz started the first game at left midfield, where he played as more of an attacking role in college, but now getting his second half of work at the right back position.
So here we see Kamal Miller on the ball, and of everyone in the draft, of every center back, he is the best at breaking lines with his passes. A lot of these center backs have a different part of their skill set that speaks to teams.
Daly here, looking to cut it back, gets it into the box. An opportunity for Team Predator. That shot's blocked, and the follow-up knocked away as well.
Just to finish up on Kamal Miller for a second, but as he brings the ball forward from that left center back position, just look at his distribution, because if he has a good day today, it will really excite teams that are looking for that type of passer from that spot.
Miller, as you said, one of the more poised center backs, as you see the shot there from Enstrom being blocked. Played as well, though, in a three-man center back pairing, center backs on Syracuse, and now in a flat back four. Trying to show his versatility. One of the many players here from the Toronto area, Tajon Buchanan, on his team from the GTA area as well. Daly gets it wide for Enstrom. Enstrom's got a little bit of an opening. Closed by Osmond, and Mitchell Osmond makes the tackle right when he had to.
And there we saw the exact point of Mitchell, the exact part of Mitchell Osmond's game that he wants to show people this week. Look at the timing on this. Look at the reading of the angles to make that tackle. Osmond acknowledges, just as much as the coaches, that the best part of his game is not his ability on it, but rather that he is a natural, intelligent defender who can make plays like that.
Mitchell Osmond out of Sydney, Australia, 24 years old. Sliding out there was Jimmy Haig, and he's able to push it away for a corner kick. Pressure put on by Emil Cuejo out of SMU. Mitchell Osmond, though, an interesting story at Rio Grande College, transferring from an NAIA school, College of St. Joe's, was first-team All-American, but has come over here from Sydney, left his family, his wife and kid, in Australia to try and make a soccer career here in the U.S. and Canada. Knocked down at the near post by Enstrom. Peter Lee Vassell gets by the first player. Looking to the feet there. The shot blocked. A second opportunity for Coffey. Kyle Coffey, a player, Bobby, from University of Washington. Came off the bench as a forward in the first game. Made a difference, right? Stood out in the game, but maybe not always the decision-making that you wanted.
Yeah, he certainly has some of the best skill and ability on the ball of everyone here. There's questions about his ability to truly influence a game and whether he's active enough and gets on the ball enough, but nobody questions once he gets on the ball if he has the ability to make something happen in the final third.
Patrick Bunk Anderson here at right center back. This team also has a player in Verstappen on the bench who will come in at halftime to play one of those center back roles. Miller now. Long ball over the top. Swartz gets on the end of it. He's got help from Enstrom. Enstrom early cross in the box. And that one swept away by Scott DeVos.
And I'm putting two and two together on Kamal Miller. We just saw him switch the field. Well, what happens is, going back to the original point, mentioning he's very good playing the ball between the lines. When you have a center back, David, that can pick out an attacking midfielder or striker in between a defense's set defense, then all of a sudden they have to tighten up. They've got to come towards the middle more, and it opens up the channels. You have a center back that can not only hit the ball in between the lines on the ground, but can also switch the fields. It opens up a world of options for your attacking system.
Saeed Haji here on the ball. US U20 international. One of the best attacking players in the nation at VCU. Already signed as a Generation Adidas player. Had 5 goals and 10 assists this year. Out of Manchester, New Hampshire. We see an injury here on that far side. It looks like Harry Swartz is the one down. Some injuries hitting these two teams. So Abdi Mohammed and Jacob Hauser Ramsey. Both of those players are out for Team Copa in white. Marcelo Borges on the bench, dealing with a little bit of an injury, so we'll see how much he can play. And Dylan Greenberg, another fullback for Team Copa, dealing with an injury, so he will be limited in his minutes. We'll see him later on in the second half. We already mentioned Frankie Amaya. With that injury, won't be going in this one for Team Predator. A couple other players that they're watching more closely as well, as Harry Swartz now is down. Swartz, as I mentioned, out of Northeastern University, native of Needham, Massachusetts. Started 14 games this year. Goal and 2 assists. Was second All-CAA for Northeastern. Suffered an injury in 2016 that held him out for the year. Otherwise, started at least 15 games the other years of his career. Now being looked at by the athletic trainer. So, Bobby, we talked a little bit about the profile of players teams are looking for in this one. We talked about those buckets that you mentioned. Who has stood out in each of those buckets? Who are the guys that have looked like they can make a difference this year, guys that you really want to bring in to see how they develop over the next few?
Well, the couple players that I'd really like to make a difference this year are all in the defensive half of the field. The first one would be Callum Montgomery. We saw him in the first game today. Left center back, very good passer of the ball, enough athleticism to play at the professional level, reads the game well. And here's an under-the-radar one, Chase Gasper, left back at the University of Maryland. When I talked to his Maryland head coach, Sasha Karofsky, about his ability, he used the word, David, that he's a man already, that his maturity level, his professionalism, he could step right into the professional lifestyle like it was nothing, that he can step into the adversity and be perfectly fine with it, and I like to hear that. That's something that I would use in my assessment of these players. So those are two defenders that I would trust to come into my team in 2019.
You left out my guy, Akeem Ward, who's looked really solid, played left and right back, which bodes well for a coaching staff. He's two-footed. He's comfortable in both those roles, so he can slot in as a backup in both those places. John Nelson, one of the Generation Adidas signings out of UNC, he's up off the bench potentially to come on for Swartz. Right now, Team Predators playing a man down, so we'll see what happens. There, John Nelson, US U17, lived in residency, went down for the U17 World Cup in Chile in 2015, along with Christian Pulisic and Tyler Adams, players like that. Tommy McCabe, who's here at this camp, was a member of that team, as well as John Nelson. Nelson now will come on the field. Naturally a left-sided player, whether it's left center back in a three-man back line or left back. Coming on here at right back where we saw him for a few minutes in the first day of games.
And he is a player known for his possession more than his ability to get down the line and get to the end line. And he does like to cut in. So if he does that from his left natural position, he goes to his right foot. So here we see him on the right side of the field, something that he won't be entirely unaccustomed to.
And, Bobby, it's harsh to say for these players, but they've come off a tight college soccer season for a lot of them. They've been on a break for over a month, 2 months, maybe even 3 months. And MLS preseason start in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So for coaches and for front offices, as short-sighted as it may be, injuries are a concern of, is this guy going to have a chance to settle in? Because if he's going to come back in May, he's not going to get a preseason. He's not going to get comfortable. Can I get him into my team?
Spot on again. You're doing so well.
Just leave,
in this
Bobby.
day,
Just leave.
David. I have nothing to add.
Just leave. Throw in here for Griffin Dorsey. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Dorsey. Was a USU 17 at a high school. One of those interesting cases. Didn't play DA soccer at all. Didn't play ODP, but was so good at his club level that got pulled into the national team along with, ended up being his IU teammate Justin Rennicks. And the two of them form a pretty formidable attack for IU on their way to the College Cup this year. We already saw Reese Buckmaster, the starting right back for that team. Peter Lee Vassell now comes forward, finding the feet of Dunwell. Sprays it wide for Dorsey. Dorsey charging forward, one-on-one with Haji. Lays it back for Piacic.
And, David, I don't think it's a coincidence that Haji is playing left midfield today opposed to a left winger position. Here we see Team Predator decide to come out in a 4-4-2, meaning there's more defensive responsibility on those two wide players, Tajon Buchanan and Syed Haji. And that's because coming in, there are major questions about both of their ability to defend. Everyone knows what they can do on the ball. Everyone believes that they can help their MLS team once they're in possession. But if you can't do the other side of the field, it's tough to trust those players on the pitch.
Buchanan there showing a little bit of why he's been so highly rated. Dunwell felt like he got fouled at the start of the play, but Buchanan beating one defender. Haji now coming in field looking for a teammate. Daly splits out wide, chasing this one down, and it hits the corner flag. It'll go out for the throw-in. Rashawn Daly out of Quinnipiac University. He's been called in for a full Jamaica team camp, as well as a longtime Jamaican U17 international. Sitting at 6'2". Bobby, we saw him at winger in the first game, and he was creative and looked really good in open field, and now gets a chance at a forward position. Dorsey with the turnover. Mertz now looking to go back the other way. Robbie Mertz from what state?
Pennsylvania.
Not as big a PA talent pool in this one, Bobby.
Mertz has a lot of pressure.
Mertz does have a lot of pressure. Seen a number of Central PA and Philly area guys come through the draft over the last few years.
No, from this backed out angle, you can really see the tight distances between Team X's lines in white. Ton of credit goes to DeVos and Osman as their two center backs, staying brave enough to remain high and ensure that there isn't gaps in between their defense.
Team Predator now on the ball in red, going right to left on your screen. Kamal Miller, another beautiful ball over the top. Junka with the header back to the feet of Daly, closed down by a few white defenders. And then that cross is clipped into the safe hands there of Pyle. James Pyle out of UNC. Has a twin brother, William, who starts at goalkeeper at South Carolina. So you can tell it's a family just put that ball down and rip shots on each other all day. That's probably the best way to develop a goalkeeper, because that's all goalies do in practice. If you have two goalies in a household, you could be phenomenal. Now I realize that. I'll talk to my girlfriend about it. Emil Cuello brings it down. Looking for J.J. Williams. Williams almost snuck by the first defender, and now Dunwell brings it down. Coffey pinching in field here. Cuello with the big switch. It's back out wide. Ball coming in. Good battle at the near post there between Bunk Anderson and Williams. Bobby, one of the players we heard a lot about coming into the Combine was Brad Dunwell, Wake Forest University. You talked a little bit about body type with J.J. Williams being pro-ready, but Dunwell, we heard lifestyle-wise, soccer style was as pro-ready as you'll see.
Absolutely. We talked to his college coach, Bobby Moose, at Wake Forest, and he mentioned the kid takes care of his body. He does more pro-type prep than anyone he's seen. And those are some of the cues that I really like to hear from these kids, because if you do something like that, you're going to do the other things. You're going to watch film more. You're going to stay on the field and train more. And that's what all these young players need. None of these guys are going to go into their team perfectly ready as the final polished product. They're going to still need to improve. And when I draft a kid, I want to trust that he still has the eagerness to grow, and it seems like Brad Dunwell has that in abundance.
Mertz trying to make the run over the top. Dunwell out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. 22 years old, just turned 22 on New Year's Eve. Going to make his pro soccer debut at a Wake Forest. Was basically a starter since day one. Started every single game in his Wake Forest career, over 20 games every season, and played PDL with the Michigan Bucks, which is one of those programs, Bobby, that treats themselves more professionally, holds themselves to a higher standard, and has had a lot of success, especially in the U.S. Open Cup. Buchanan drops it back for Nelson. Samuels into the feet of Tajon Buchanan. Can't find a teammate and lets it go.
That's a couple really intelligent passes from Drew Samuels. One coach compared him to Diego Chara's ability to blow a play in the middle of the field, but there are still questions about his ability once he was on the ball. Could he make the right decisions? Could he make passes in tight spaces? There we see it again. That was a very tidy play by Samuels, number 60 for Team Predator. So he's off to a good first 23 minutes.
Buchanan trying to get around Peter Lee Vassell, who shows a little bit of his creativity.
You're a big Peter Lee Vassell guy, huh, David?
He's been impressive. He won the first ever Caribbean Combine. He's 19 years old. The guy's got 8 caps at the full Jamaican international level, CONCACAF qualifying. But he's also played pro soccer. He was the star player for Harborview, a major team in the Jamaican Premier League. He's still on the books with them, so he'll play a year on loan. And everyone you talk to about him, someone says he's a true number 10. Now he's playing number 8, and he looks comfortable. We've seen him play a little bit already here as a number 6. He's played for Jamaica as number 10 and in that holding midfield position. So You've got youth. You've got versatility. You've got experience. What else would you want if you're drafting a guy?
And we did hear one observer of this combine say that he is probably the most pro-ready because he's already spent time at Harborview, because he's already been in the professional environment, that you can trust that he can come in and be ready to contribute to your professional team right away.
He trialed in Norway just about a month and a half ago.
I like J.J. Williams pressing here. The ball travels back that far. It should be a cue for pretty much any professional team to go. J.J. Williams doing a nice job leading the line there.
And you can see for Team Copa how different this team is with Williams in there. In their last game, just not a true center forward presence. Kyle Coffey played in there for a little bit. Sebastian Elney, who will come in this one and we think play a little bit on the right side, where Joey Piacic is right now, and a little bit at center forward. Not the same presence as what J.J. Williams brings. Sam Junka into the feet of Haji. And now Cuejo coming away from it. Haji, his family, fleeing the Somalian civil war. Spent some time in a refugee camp in Kenya before finally getting their paperwork accepted here in the U.S. as Enstrom's in one-on-one. Huge save there by James Pyle. Still alive on the top of the box, and now Vassell comes away with it. His pass is blocked, but Pyle will be the first one there. What a save there by Pyle.
And it was really interesting talking to Simon Enstrom before the Combine, saying how much he's tried to model his game off Charlie Davies, another player who went to Boston College, played in Sweden. Now, of course, Charlie Davies grew up in the U.S. and went to play for Hammarby, and Enstrom's doing it the other way. But Enstrom a little stronger, a little wider than Charlie Davies, but still trying to model him off the way he approaches the game and his movement in the attacking third.
Boston College has produced some great center forwards. Charlie Rugg, another good one. Great college career, played some time with the LA Galaxy. Enstrom, the lone representative from his school here today. That one slipped in well. A good chance coming here for Team Copa, and it's blocked away. The original ball in by Joey Piacic coming in from that right wing.
Wonderful slip pass from Piacic. And my favorite part of that, David, the way he showed his hips made it seem like he was going to play it wide towards the touchline, comes back across his body with the left foot, slips in the runner. Not the type of nuance you usually see from college players, but Piacic playing the wonderful ball.
Janusz Luba, the one making the run there. Attacking player in college, scored a goal in the last game playing as a winger, but playing at left back this game.
We'll talk about that run from J.J. Williams another time. He's got to get near post there, but I'm sure it'll come up again.
Cuejo on the far post, brings it down cleanly. Nice little skill check from him. Dorsey now one-on-one and poked away by Samuels.
There's that ability from Samuels we were discussing earlier.
Haji and Daly now in the open field. Haji with a couple of white shirts around him. He puts it over the top now. Pyle reads that one. It dies on him, but he's still able to get it away.
And what you didn't see on your screen there was that Pyle was already out. He read that run from Enstrom. He read Haji's body language, and Pyle was already at the top of his 18 anticipating that pass. A wonderful moment from the goalkeeper.
So talk to me about that run from J.J. Williams.
Oh, he held up his run. As Luba got through, J.J. Williams waited, and then he tried to peel his run off to the second layer. But what you have to understand is you're the first runner. You have to get near post because it drags others with you. You might not be making that run to score, but you're forcing the center backs and potentially the outside back to go to that spot with you, which then leaves the second layer open for someone else. And obviously, J.J. Williams is the best player in his college team, and he's the one responsible for scoring goals. But once you get to the professional level, and it's more of a meritocracy where more players at even level, sometimes you've got to do it for somebody else, which is what should have happened there, if this were an MLS game.
So one of the guys we talked to this week, Adrian Heath, a great forward in his career in England, has coached some of the best forwards here in the U.S. as Samuels clips this one over the top. Coached Dom Dwyer at a young age. Kyle Larin at a young age as well. Dennis Chin, who had a ton of goals down in USL. Christian Ramirez. One of the things he said was, if you make a run to the back post, you'll score 7 to 10 goals every single year if you do it consistently. Is that a positive thing or a negative thing? I couldn't tell what that meant.
It's a positive thing about, I think the point of Adrian Heath making that statement was that you need to make a run every single time. It wasn't necessarily the value of the far post run over any other run.
Just the effort.
What he added after that, he said 9 out of 10 times, if you make that run, you're not going to score. But 1 of the 10, that ball is going to get through. But if you don't make the run on that time, then all of a sudden you're going to be out of a career because you don't get those goals.
Yeah, he said he watches video of every goal scored from most of the leagues from around the world. It sounded like almost 1,000 goals every weekend.
Right.
And he said the majority of them are either goalkeeper mistakes, either it's a drop or they think it's going to go wide and it doesn't, or deflected cross that you put in.
And going back to the J.J. Williams run, I'm not saying a striker should go near a post every time. You need to understand the moment because he was first, because of where the defenders were. Somebody need to pull the defenders out, and that should have been Williams' responsibility on that type of play.
Piacic battling now. He ends up earning the throw-in against Hadji. Midway through this first half here, the final game of the 2019 MLS Adidas Player Combine. Team Copa in white, going left to right on your screens, facing off against Team Predator in red. Team Predator putting on the pressure here early on. And now Team Copa, Bobby, over the last 5 to 10 minutes, has started to find their feet.
And then we see Yunus Luba making the run forward. A really nice moment, as you mentioned, David. Generally attacker, playing left back today. And here we see, I always like in these games, when you see the moments when the game slows down for a player. Everything's moving fast. Then you can actually see they get that second of clarity, which is what happened with Luba. He makes his run through, he breaks the lines, but then he slows down to find the option. Those are the things that become more important when you become a pro.
Luba, 7 goals, 11 assists this year, was 4th in the country in assists. First team in his region as that shot gets taken there by Griffin Dorsey. Dorsey, you can hear yelling to Joey Piacic to cover now his position as Dorsey came flying through the middle of the field there to pick that one up.
He does. Generally a winger, playing right back today, but one of the things you always have to remember if you do switch positions is that you can't let what you've done your whole career slip away. So just because Dorsey goes to right back, well, maybe one of the reasons they want him at right back is because he is so dangerous going forward because of the intelligence of his runs and his pace. So how can he then change positions, adapt to the demands of the new spot, but also continue to do what he's done before? And that was a wonderful data point for it.
So Williams has slid out wide right, and Piacic playing at right back, where we saw him for a few minutes there purposefully in the first game.
Are you going to let that touch go unnoticed by Hadji? Did you see that? Defender comes to him, a little flick, goes the other way. You know, maybe you don't want to see that in the middle of the field, but the confidence and the wherewithal to pull that off, I dig it.
No, you've seen confidence from him throughout, and you've seen that skill, that ability, why he was called up to basically every U.S. youth national team level. And we check Hadji here with that touch. Dunwell called for the foul on the back end of it. But you've seen that. Maybe you haven't, though, seen a little bit of edge from him. That winning mentality and that I can do these little things to win this game. I'm going to get my body in yours earlier to hold my space. Those seem to be the moments, the things that coaches didn't see so far, but you never know what situation you're at coming into something like the Combine.
And this is why the draft process is so hard. You take a kid like Hadji, who is incredibly humble, is quiet, is so nice, and you wonder to yourself, is that a negative? Is that somehow a disadvantage to his career that he is so nice and so humble? Would you like to see with a kid with more edge? Would you like to see someone with more of a killer instinct? David, I don't have a good answer. It feels that it's dependent on the team and their needs and the type of coaching staff.
Piacic pushing forward off the turnover. Team Copa looking to get the opening here, and Williams almost colliding there with Jimmy Haig, who took it down cleanly. Now he rolls it out for Buchanan. We've seen already in this game Buchanan's willingness, ability to take guys on one-on-one. Robbie Mertz here in space. Beautiful ball down the line for Hadji. Hadji's got 2 options. If he wants to cross it, cuts back, puts it on his right foot, and his shot is blocked.
And these are the situations in the game that are so important for Hadji. Yes, we've talked about his need to defend. We've talked about his need to show bite. But it's really this that's going to make him money as a professional. When he gets into these moments with space, running at defenders, and what I really like about that, Dave, you see his hips. His hips look like he was going far post. He angles it back to the near post. It doesn't come off, but a little bit of ingenuity we don't often see.
Now he'll take the corner kick. Sorry, Hadji, 10 assists this year in college soccer. Knocked down at the near post. Samuels closes, and then Mitchell Osmond puts his foot through it and clears to the other side of the field. Haji, as Bobby has said, and number 10 in college. But every coaching staff here is looking at him and wondering if he can fill in for them on the wing, be a difference maker early on as this ball goes over the top. Daly there can't bring it down. We know FC Cincinnati at the number 1 pick needs a little attacking help. There's heavy rumors coming through now. It sounds like Johan Kappelhoff might be on his way to the Chicago Fire to add to what is already a very deep defensive team, a lot of defensive midfielders.
To Cincinnati from Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where
You
would
said
it-
to Chicago.
Oh, sorry. He'd go to Cincinnati. He can't go to Chicago because he already is in Chicago, so he would just be staying home. I was like, Bobby, why would you explain that to me? So a few attacking players, Haji, Tajon Buchanan, those are the two, maybe J.J. Williams as well. That could be attacking options in this draft. But for FC Cincinnati with Adi and Maddox, it sounds like it would be one of the two we see out here on the field right now.
And it really is your personal preference on what you think is the best strategy within the draft. For example, Dave, we spent a lot of time talking about this, and we both believe that the safest picks in the MLS SuperDraft are defenders. It's an easier transition into the professional game. So even though you have number 1 or 2, do you take the player with the highest upside, which are mostly attackers? You know, as we see here, for example, J.J. Williams. Look how big, how strong, how good his movement is in the box. He probably has a higher upside than a guy like John Nelson out of the University of North Carolina. But Nelson is an outside back, and a lot of teams in Major League Soccer need an outside back. And the level of outside backs in Major League Soccer isn't as high as it is for center strikers, so it's easier to find a spot.
We'll go through a little bit of a mock draft ourselves here live on the air coming up in the second half. So at bwarshaw14 if you've got any ideas, on Twitter at EmpireGass, GASS as well if you want to see, throw out some ideas of who you would pick with your spot and what you would do with whatever team you're biggest fan of or whichever college player you're a fan of. Pile comes out and cleans that one up as well. I think one of the things we've discussed, Bobby, consistently is best player when you get to your spot. And as we've said, most teams need help at that fullback, center back position. But FC Cincinnati, a unique case because of the depth they've already built on that back line at holding mid. And then you take a look, and not saying you have one here, but Kyle Larin, in his first year in Major League Soccer in Orlando's City's first year in MLS, was a difference maker, was an all-star, was a star at that center forward spot. J.J. Williams putting pressure on here. Barreling down on the goal. J.J. Williams, the Herman Mack finalist, goes just a few inches wide here.
The good and the bad of J.J. Williams. Using his ability to press to win the ball off Bunk Anderson, but then gets 1v1 and just looks a little bit uncomfortable. Here, he uses his pace to separate. He's 1v1. He picks up his head. But, David, he never looked like he was able to calm his body or mind to pick out the right angle, rushes a little bit, and hooks it wide.
Yeah, he looked comfortable in open space. Got that ball out in front of him. His touch was clean. It looked like took that shot maybe a touch too early and didn't really force the goalkeeper to make a decision.
In the description of him throughout college soccer,
Peter Lee Vassell in for Kyle Coffey, and this one's poked away by Nelson at the final moment.
oh, and what a pass from Vassell and a nice run from out wide from Kyle Coffey.
Take a second look at this one. Vassell puts no spin on that ball, leaves it there for Coffey to run into, and a beautiful touch on the back end by Dan Stelly behind the goal.
Nice defending by John Nelson there as well.
Nelson, as we said, naturally left-sided player playing at right back. Cross comes in here.
One last point about J.J. Williams is
Comes in from Dunwell, and that one's poked wide.
that J.J. Williams is a little bit more of a volume finisher. He uses his ability to get opportunities, and wow, wonderful strike from Brad Dunwell on the bounce, his off foot hitting it on target. But J.J. Williams uses his ability and just gets chance after chance after chance. We've already seen a little bit today. And if he does find a way to increase his efficiency, it'll take him to the next level.
That cross taken easily. Brad Dunwell, 4 years of college soccer, 1 goal. Came in his freshman year in non-conference play. That's not really a place he finds himself commonly. As you said, J.J. Williams getting his best look of the game. A Montgomery, Alabama native, just a junior in college. Signed a Generation Adidas contract. One of a class of 7 players in the Generation Adidas this year. for Major League Soccer. Of course, as we talk about, MLS academies and homegrown signings have changed the face of the SuperDraft as well as the Combine. Some of the best players in college soccer signing directly to MLS teams. That one taken off the foot of Edstrom, off the crossbar and in.
What a fantastic goal all around. Junqua whipping this ball in over the first defender, directly into the path of Simon Edstrom, and then Edstrom takes it inside of the foot from 15 yards out, off the crossbar, and not much Pyle could have done about that. Not at all a goalkeeper mistake. Wonderful finishing technique to go at full stride, keep his balance, and just redirect the ball with pace on target. That's got to be big points in an event like this for both Junqua and Edstrom.
And brutal for James Pyle, who's made a couple really big saves this half, has been aggressive off his line, read the game well, and as you said, nothing he can do about that. Perfect finish, though, from Edstrom.
It's got to be the most cruel thing in soccer that he gets an own goal for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. I wouldn't even give it, but, you know, no one listens to me. I don't get to rewrite the rules whenever I want to. So now Team Copa, how can they recover from this one? Team Predator in red taking the 1-0 lead here in the 39th minute. We'll go to halftime in just a moment here, and we'll be back with your second half of action here on MLSsoccer.com. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw joining you from Orlando City Stadium in beautiful Orlando, Florida. Good day today, about 60, 65 degrees, so nice and cool for these players to get a run out. The bulk of them will be leaving straight, basically, from this game to jump on flights, head to Chicago for the 2019 MLS SuperDraft. It'll be coming up live on MLSsoccer.com on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Andrew Wiebe will be hosting alongside Bobby Warshaw, Taylor Twellman, and I'll pop in here and there when I've got something to say. I mean, based on my performance so far today, leaving Bobby speechless a couple of times, maybe I should just replace you, but
I wouldn't blame anyone for it, Dave.
Listen, we're all a better team when we work as a unit. Numbers, right? If we throw numbers in midfield, then we can control possession.
I mean, I think we're becoming a team that just gets Goss the ball. You know, we do the dirty work. We put you in a good position, let you make the magic.
I think I'm Bedoya-esque, where my consistency is my star quality. Yeah, exactly. I compare myself to USMNT DP. That's what I do. Peter Lee Vassell now, a little bit of space. Winner of the first ever Caribbean Combine. Taking place down in the Caribbean in October. And Bobby, we'll talk a little bit about the Combine and what its future is, but where it stands. But these international combines most likely going to become more common for Major League Soccer teams, a chance to bring together the best players in different regions that are available and try and bring them into Major League Soccer. And we've seen how much CONCACAF has been a key player in the growth of Major League Soccer. The close of the first half here. Team Predator, a 1-0 lead. We'll get a chance now in the second half. We know J.J. Williams and Griffin Dorsey will get a full second half to play. So two of the GA signings that we're excited to see, Saeed Haji as well, will be back out there. A number of other players coming in off the bench, including Sebastian Elney, one of the leading goal scorers for the national champions in the University of Maryland, as well as Ryan Sierkowski, one of the leaders for Michigan State on their run to the College Cup. We'll be back in just a moment with your second half here on MLSsoccer.com.
Good job, dude. Yeah. Sloppy on my end, but dude, you were sharp. We'll do I'll say the name, we'll let it sit for a little while, see if
what we think, and then big picks. I would just go like best available or the odd one positional. Obviously, it's not going to be anywhere remotely correct, but whatever. We can bring. Do you want to? I'm gonna text them.
I just got a bunch of texts like random shit I haven't responded to in like 3 days.
Everybody's gone.
What do you mean?
Like the technical stuff.
What are you taking on?
I don't know about you. I always come to these full steam the first 4 days. Like, this is awesome.
Right.
And then by day 6, I'm tired.
Up all night. At least I'm up all night.
Yeah, right. I was gonna find. I need like at least one night off.
Yeah. If I don't see you,
Oh yeah.
enjoy.
Always good to see you.
Yeah.
Enjoy California.
I will indeed.
I would say it's nice to get these nice back-to-back reprieve, but you don't need a damn repeat reprieve in San Jose. You always get the good stuff.
Yeah.
I got this, Joe.
Not gonna lie. What's that? Joe Walsh word? Can't complain, but sometimes I still do.
It's true about all of us, right?
Yeah.
See ya. get confirmation for what it's worth. He told me everything. So there's, I don't know if that's who you heard it for, but I got it from the other side too.
What's the point, though? What's the point?
I'm pretty sure it's 0.3 miles from Malaga.
We got a lot of steps in this week.
I know, dude. It just takes, that's a lot of walking time for me now. All right. Thoughts going into this last one?
Nothing. Yeah, we'll talk combine in general. Keep watching the game. We'll get JJ and Dorsey for the second half. I think Dorsey's definitely a right back, and I think he'll actually be pretty good. Even though he's had like a bunch of huge mistakes.
I'll do the lineups. Like, I'll give you the lineups as they come in.
Okay. I'm not so worried about it mainly because Team Copa only has one sub they're making.
Borges? It looks like Borges to me. Yeah.
No, Williams isn't on the field. What the fuck? He said he was going to play the full game. No, Borges and Elney are in.
St. Clair's in.
And St. Clair's in. Oh, basically, yeah.
DeVos, Osman.
Why is Williams not in? All right, ready?
Well, I gotta.
Don't rush.
Welcome back, everyone, to the second half, the final game of the 2019 MLS Adidas Player Combine. We're getting ready to get started here at Orlando City Stadium. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw on the call for you. You see number 38, J.J. Williams, 18 goals in college soccer, one of the three best players in the nation this year, getting ready to come on and try and prove himself for one final half here at Orlando City Stadium. A few subs for these two teams, and we'll get them to you as we know them. But for Team Copa in white, they'll be going right to left. Dane St. Clair is now in goal in place of James Pyle. St. Clair, out of the University of Maryland, national champion this year, a Canadian U20 starter, one of the generation Adidas signings. So we expect to go as the number one goalkeeper in the draft coming up on Friday. For the rest of this team right now, for Team Copa in white, the same back line as what we saw in the first half. Marcelo Borges here putting pressure on number 34. Will play at left midfield. Has played left back his whole career. We'll get an opportunity there, and you see getting knocked over Sebastian Elney out of University of Maryland, who comes in on the right side in place of Joey Piacic, who we'll see back later on in this half if he's feeling healthy and ready to go. Brad Dunwell in midfield, central midfield number 22, and now he'll be partnered by Sam Brown at a Harvard University. Peter Lee Vassell going off for a couple moments, and Kyle Coffey sliding infield to take over for Emil Cuejo. Coffey playing out on the left side in the first half. We see for Team Predator, Luis Barraza in goal. Marquette Golden Eagle. Team Predator in red going left to right. At right back, Sam Junka. At center back for Team Predator, Verstappen, who will partner Kamal Miller for now. And John Nelson, the Generation Adidas signing here on the ball, swapping over to his more familiar left back position. Change in central midfield as Joel Rystran and Javi Perez will take over as the two-man central midfield in this 4-4-2, which pushes Robbie Mertz out wide right. Siad Haji swapping wings here. He puts it in for Sierkowski, who's back on the ball now and hasn't knocked away. Ryan Sierkowski going up top. And Tajon Buchanan sliding higher up the field as well as Enstrom and Daly come off. Run here from Sierkowski. Looking for the early cross to Buchanan. Bobby, a big second half here. Last opportunity for these players to leave a positive taste in the mouths of the coaches and these front offices heading into the draft. They've had their interviews. They've had months to scout these players, years to scout them. Some of them have been to team-specific combines already to play in front of these coaches. This is the last chance to leave a positive feeling.
And we often find that the second half of the second game of the Combine is the best. It feels like the weight is off. It feels like they're now used to the experience. They've gotten to know their teammates a little better, and it just makes for better soccer. The players start to play up to their ability as we almost see a gorgeous pass from Javi Perez. So, David, I'm really looking forward to these next 38 minutes.
Coffee goes down there under a hard tackle from Joel Rystrand. Rystrand out of Creighton University.
And kudos to Rystrand winning the Goss First Hard Tackle of the Game award. That's always a personal favorite of ours.
That's the first one?
Can you remember another?
No, it's your award. You get to give it away. You do what you want.
It's your award. I just dole it out.
Rystrand playing under his head coach, Johnny Torres. Matt Chulis, the University of Virginia assistant coach, the assistant for this team, Predator in red. On the flip side, Bo Oshani, the Dartmouth College head coach, running Team Copa. And his assistant here is Seton Hall University assistant Jeff Mateo. Rystrand, one of what's becoming a large class of international players who spend time in college soccer from Scandinavia, England, Germany, France, as well as South America.
And there we just saw Borges, who played outside back for most of his career. He's on the left wing today, and everyone we've talked to really likes his game, really likes what he has to offer. There's two questions. One, his durability and whether he can stay healthy through a longer professional season. But two, my personal question is whether he can simplify his game. Because he is so talented, because he always has been one of the best players on the field, he often tries a pass that's a little more difficult.
Down the line here, opportunity for Luba to cross. He gets it, and J.J. Williams head to it and punched away by Barraza. Not a lot of power on that cross there. J.J. Williams flicked that one on frame, though.
That's always the most beautiful play in soccer, when a player rises up and meets a slow header and pow, gets pace, gets power on that header. But what a reaction from Barraza, and here we see it. Luba getting forward, and what a nice cross. Picks up his head, finds where the players are, a delicate chip. Williams wins the header, jumps first, but then Barraza, great reactions, but also a wonderful parry to get it out of danger.
Huge save there from Barraza. J.J. Williams jogging back up the field, clapping, yelling over to Luba, liking what he's getting there, a little bit of service for him. His only big chance in the first half came off a press by himself, picked up possession and wasn't able to finish in his 1v1, but showing why he can be a difference maker at the next level. Exactly what he's brought here. Physicality, speed, reading the game, just being a threat in the box and making things hard.
And I want to mention again, I like that he jumped first. A lot of big athletic forwards can live off their size.
Borges gets to the end line. This cross is knocked away.
Can live off their size and strength at the youth level, but it's a little nuance like that. Understanding that he needs to jump first, that's going to make the difference when he does play players that can match his physicality.
Team Predator right now just trying to play out of everything. Dangerous to see from them, but they're now transitioning back the other way. Nelson, the UNC Generation Adidas player, leading the attack. And the cross in the end from Mertz straight into the hands of St. Clair.
A really interesting sample size from two outside backs facing each other. John Nelson running forward. I really like, David, how he didn't make the pass too early to Robbie Mertz. He kept going, and he made Griffin Dorsey commit, so then Mertz had a little bit more room once he was slipped in. But on the flip side, I am concerned that Dorsey did bite early. We've mentioned all game he's converting to outside back for this, potentially his first professional career, so he will have to understand more patience, and he doesn't have to step. He can continue to drop so the runner can't get behind him.
Kyle Coffey there talking to Elney. Coffey playing more as a center forward and number 10 in his college career, getting the chance for the first time at Combine to do that. Elney, a true natural center forward, playing out on the wide right side. J.J. Williams taking up the center forward spot. Pushing the back there from Sierkowski. Ryan Sierkowski, a good career at Michigan State. 8 goals, 5 assists this year on their way to a College Cup run. Followed that up. The previous 2 years had 9 goals each season, was first team All Big Ten as well in his sophomore year. A good complete center forward who probably had a good first day in Combine play.
He had a fine first day. I wouldn't have put it good. If you look at his competition for specifically in that 10 to 20 range, you're looking at Santiago Patino, who, David, I think we both feel has outperformed Sierkowski at least through this point of the Combine.
So now Van Straten on the ball here. Come on, Miller playing at left center back still, the Canadian. We saw spray it a couple times in the first half.
A rare misplaced pass from Luis Barraza. As we talked to people about his game, they compared him to Nick Raimondo, not just in the dominion of nature, but his ability to pass out of the back, specifically to find those clipped passes toward the sideline.
Ball played out wide right. Scott DeVos and Mitchell Osman really the only healthy center backs on their team, so they're going to get as much time as they can to show off well for these coaches. And Bobby, as we mentioned, we're going to start going through these teams and looking at who we think they'll be taking on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, live streaming on MLSsoccer.com. Taylor Twellman will be joining us for the 2019 MLS SuperDraft, taking place in Chicago. So, Bobby, FC Cincinnati has the first pick in the draft. We think they will keep it. They need to add a couple players as Tajon Buchanan breaks into the box, the slide tackle there from Osman to save the day. Dunwell now coming back the other way. Williams and Elney making the aggressive runs up the field. Williams there, layoff for Coffey. Coffey now looking for the run of Borges, and it's just a few feet behind him. So I think FC Cincinnati will keep their pick. They need players, and I think they go for the best talent because, as we've said over and over on this stream, the most reliable picks are defenders, fullbacks, center backs who could be backup center backs, maybe a defensive midfielder. But that is where FC Cincinnati has a lot of talent. So I think they go for an asset. They go for a good player. So I think they go for Frankie Amaya with the number 1 pick. USU 20 international. FC Cincinnati went up a little bit, about 45 minutes north of here, to go watch him play with the U.S. Youth National Team over the last week while he wasn't at Combine. So I think Frankie Amaya, the number 1 pick to FC Cincinnati. Bobby, that puts you on the clock. Number 2, that's Matias Almeida and the San Jose Earthquakes.
Ooh, David, I like your pick a lot. I really like what you're doing there. How much? 3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes on the clock.
No, I won't do that to you.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no,
kidding.
no. Take your clock.
I'm not going to do
Do
it.
a good job. Take your clock, Bobby. I respect your clock.
I'm going to take, with number 2 pick for the San Jose Earthquakes, Tajon Buchanan.
Why?
Because I'm back and forth on, they certainly need defensive help. Callum Montgomery might go into that team and start right away. But they have a few center backs. I'm not sure that Callum Montgomery on the margin is better than what they have with Florian Youngworth or a healthy Harold Cummings. But what Tajon Buchanan offers is perhaps the biggest upside and also unique pace. And if you look at the Earthquakes lineup right now, they don't have a ton of pace out wide. They had last year Magnus Eriksson, they had Vaco, maybe a Danny Houston or Wando who could play somewhere in the attack. But
the addition of Christian Verón this year, on loan from Villarreal.
Yep. So I like the idea of you don't pick Buchanan as a pure starter, but he adds something different to your team in the short term to maybe get him some minutes, as we've already talked about on these broadcasts. But number 2, he has a huge upside.
Interesting. I think Buchanan behind Amaya has the highest upside. Maybe along with J.J. Williams in this draft, the guys that you'd put in that spot.
Here we see that. Will he show it off?
Buchanan on the ball.
Oh, wow.
Osman bodies him off. Mitchell Osman had a really good day here on day 2 of the Combine, showing some of what helped make him one of the best defenders in PDL over the last few years. Dunwell trying to clip this one over the top. I like Buchanan. I'm surprised you did not go with a defensive midfielder for San Jose. Being serious, though. But interesting enough, so that puts Orlando City, our host for this gorgeous combine down here in Florida, on the clock with the third pick. It's a tough one. It's interesting, but I'm going to go, I think, with Callum Montgomery at the third pick. An Orlando team that spent a lot of money in the attack. Could use a fullback. Maybe I should have gone fullback. But I think Callum Montgomery's probably the most pro-ready player in this draft at center back, and is a guy, when you talk about some of the best draft picks coming out at center back, Chad Marshall, Matt Hedges, guys who can step straight in, not straight in, but play long MLS careers. I think Callum Montgomery, one as a domestic, won't take up an international spot, as this one's alive for Haji, who puts it over the top, but two, good on the ball, has the strength to play at the MLS level, maybe a little slow moving at times, but if he's in the right system that protects him properly, I think he could be a good player.
And we've heard from multiple people the line chip on his shoulder with Callum Montgomery. And here, I'm going to use this to transition because Haji with the shot, but that ball came across from John Nelson. So with the number 4 pick in the SuperDraft, FC Dallas select out of UNC, former U17 U.S. Youth International, John Nelson. Because whereas I went upside and potential with Buchanan, I'm actually going to go a little bit of potential on this one, but more so need. And short-term need with the way he fits into my system. John Nelson played left center back in college, projected as a left back, but also has the skill set to move over to the right side if I'm in a pinch. And if you look at FC Dallas's depth chart, they've got Pedroso on the left, they've got Reggie Cannon on the right. But after that, really the main backup on both sides is Ryan Hollingshead. So you at least need a versatile number 3 on each side, and maybe someone that could push Hollingshead to get meaningful minutes.
Sounds like you're drafting the new Ryan Hollingshead. A guy who will play 18 positions for you and do his job.
I also personally really like Nelson's game because he's a passer. We look at a lot of these attacking outside backs now, and they're more of converted wingers who are dynamic on the dribble and fast, and Nelson is probably the best of all of them at just being a possession player who connects his passes.
Next up, the Chicago Fire on the clock as this shot comes in from Elney. Pushed wide, Barraza having a really good second half here for Team Predator in goal. So the Chicago Fire, the number 5 pick here. I wonder what they'll do, a.k.a. stalling for a little bit of time. So we'll watch this corner kick while we think about it.
A very Chicago Fire thing to do to take your time out, David.
Yeah, that's true. I've learned from the best.
We don't have official statistics, but we both feel strongly that the Fire have used the most timeouts in SuperDraft history.
Corner kick played in, the in-swinger easily taken by Barraza. I have a few thoughts with the Chicago Fire. One is left back.
Yeah, let's talk through it. Talk me through it.
One is left back.
You're about to make a mistake. You're about to make a common mistake, but continue talking.
Okay. It sounds like Andrew Gutman won't sign with the team. They don't really have a starter at that position. We've spoken to Nelson Rodriguez this week. You can listen to his interview on Extra Time Radio that we've already put out there from Monday's show, in which he talked about being close, having guys that they want at goalkeeper, center back, the number 10 position, as well as winger. So left back, if Gutman doesn't sign, could still be a hole. The other spot that I feel with this Chicago Fire team is backup center forward. If you look at this team, one, if they start bringing in a number 10, if they change the way they play a little bit, is Nikolic still the guy? And even if he is, who's your backup at that spot? Louis Solinak struggling for health last year can also be an option out wide. Those are the two spots I think about. When I think about the Fire, you see a bone-crunching tackle there from Borges. Down the wing here for Junka. Junka now looking for an option in the box. Forced to pull this possession back out. Clip to the far post, and Buchanan in an offside position.
Junka in an uncomfortable spot. Naturally left-footed, generally left back. Here we see him get to the end line on his right foot and wants to bring it back. Makes a safe pass to Weidstern. But, David, I love this little chip from Weidstern. You know who was fantastic at this in MLS the last few years, although out with injury the last couple? Sam Cronin. Loves that pass. Jordan Henderson does it for Liverpool. Tajon Buchanan just offside, but a nice passage of play from Team Predator.
So for the Chicago Fire, I'm going to take Andre Shinashiki, a player who is a pure goal scorer, similar to Nikolic if you need him to fill in, but has shown already in this combine and in his PDL play with the Rapids U23 that he can play out on a wing, can drop in a little bit deeper, similar to what Michael Delu did for you. Play all those attacking positions, a spot that you lost.
I like that idea. I would have gone a little differently and maybe taken a J.J. Williams. So one thing to think about with Shinashiki is he's already offered a contract, but he's offered a senior contract, meaning – actually, I was about to misspeak. Sorry.
I'll tell you this. I'll jump in over you for a moment and say Nelson Rodriguez told us if he's the guy you like, you take an international, it doesn't matter. Not everyone feels that way.
Right.
He also is a team that doesn't have a USL team. So he's not – he might be looking to loan,
right,
but he's looking for guys to play on the
right.
MLS roster.
Right.
And Shinashiki, as you said, already signed to a roster spot.
I was about to take the cap hit, and we don't know whether Shinashiki – what level of contract he signed for and whether it has to go towards your senior roster of 1 to 20 or one of the other spots. Whereas a GA pick, a lot of teams like GA, is because they don't go against your salary. So you get a player who might make $100,000, $130,000, but is not a hit on your salary cap at that point.
All right, Bobby. So, with the number 6 pick, it's your turn to select. You are now 2017 MLS Cup champions, Toronto FC.
So I'm actually going to go in the same vein that I made my number 2 overall pick when I took Tajon Buchanan. And this one is a little bit team need. Actually, this one is entirely team need for the moment because it's very specific. It's very narrow in what I'm looking for, and I think it's the kind of thing, because it is so specific, that I can get for a lower price point, like getting somebody out of the draft, and that is pure pace on the wing for Toronto. When you look at their roster, there's absolutely nothing they need right now except for someone to just open the field and make something happen 1v1 in a tight game. And I think what we've learned throughout the college season in this combine, that the best player for that is DeJuan Jones. He's the quickest player at the combine, but we also saw in game 1 today is that he has the understanding of a game and the movement to use that pace off the ball. So I really like DeJuan Jones going to Toronto to provide some pace out wide.
Interesting. It's interesting that you take a player. We haven't really taken a lot of the GAs. And one of them out there is Dane St. Clair, a Canadian goalkeeper who TFC traded Clint Irwin, so he's gone. Alex Bono is clearly the starter, but not a large depth chart behind him, and a lot of people feel like St. Clair could fit in. Of course, Bono was a GA draft pick as well, as Williams has that one taken off his feet by Perez. And now Haji charging up the field. He's got Sierkowski and Buchanan in front of him, and he chooses to go out wide. Buchanan now in his office, one-on-one with Osmond. Osmond trying to use his body to keep him in front. Buchanan's able to get a touch to it. Now Dunwell closes on him. Buchanan looking to dribble a little bit more, and Dunwell finally comes away with it.
And Buchanan needed that moment at this combine. So far, he's been very, very quiet. But if you're going to draft Tajon Buchanan, if you're going to play him in 2019, it's for that exact scenario. Open field, it's a little later in the game when the game's opened up. He needs to be able to take advantage of that. Osmond did well to slow him down, but it was nice to see Buchanan win that 1v1.
And so it looks like subs are getting ready to come on for Team Copa. Dylan Greenberg, who we said struggling with an injury, so he'll have about 20 minutes in his legs to come on and try and make a difference.
David, it feels like you're in stall mode right now.
I am. So I am the number 7 pick, Minnesota United. When you look at Minnesota United, they don't need attacking pieces. They also drafted Mason Toye and Abu Dunladi, 2 developmental GA guys over the last 2 years. So I'm going to step away from that. And when I look at this team, maybe not step in today and play, but I think they need help along that back line, of course. And I'm going to say my favorite player that's here, Akeem Ward. He can play both fullback positions. He's 2-footed. He's clean in possession. He pushes forward but has defensive instincts as a true natural fullback. And he's a guy who can play on the left side or the right side for you for a Minnesota team that needs help basically at both spots. So Akeem Ward out of Creighton University goes at the number 7 pick to Minnesota United. We'll stick in the Midwest, and we'll move us to the number 8 pick in Griffin Dorsey. Number 8 pick in the Houston Dynamo. Clearly you know who I would pick for them, Bobby. I already told you this yesterday. Felt very strongly that Dorsey would fit well, but it's your pick.
No, I'm going to agree with you. Griffin Dorsey offers the pace, the acceleration, which I know is a common theme, and I don't want it to sound like I overvalue those things on a soccer field, but it just goes back to what can you get in different ways when building a roster from different spots. And I think that one of the things you can get predictably and reliably from the draft is pace, is athleticism, because it translates between levels. And especially if you look at the way the Dynamo play, they're going to play on the counterattack. They do want players that can get out in open space, and Griffin Dorsey can do that. To add to that, if you look at their team needs, they need room on the depth chart at both winger and outside back. So Dorsey just fills a few boxes for me for the Houston Dynamo.
Sean Daly here trying to get to the end line, gets across the way safely into the arms of Dane St. Clair. So we land on the number 9 pick here, which means the New England Revolution. That means I am up. Foot race here. Dangerously played by Barraza. Williams now chasing. All the way back to Barraza, who's able to clear it this time. So you see Dylan Greenberg is back out there on the field, as is Peter Lee Vassell here, number 25 in white. And what a coincidence. That's who I'm going to go with the number 9 pick for the New England Revolution, Peter Lee Vassell, for a team that has a couple holes. He can fill 3 of them for you. Do you want more speed at the defensive midfield position? What are you doing in that role when it's not Scotty Caldwell? Next to Scotty Caldwell, he could play in there. He could play on either of the wings or push in to the number 10 position. A lot of versatility, a pro-ready player, a full international already, but a guy who you could also develop for the future because they've brought in a lot of in their prime guys in the attack. But over the next 3-4 years, Brad Friedel's going to start to build what looks more like his team.
I like that, David. That's a good pick, specifically because it feels like the Revs are really one of the only teams that might get a regular contributor out of this draft. When you look at their team, there's plenty of starting spots to be had, especially somewhere in that midfield. And like we've talked about, Peter Lee Vassell, coming from a professional environment, is ready to step into a team.
All right, Bobby, you are on the clock now. FC Dallas has 2 top 10 picks. You are now on the clock as their second one. As we see here, Marcelo Borges coming forward, a beautiful cross just past the diving Sebastian Elney. As Elney went into Patrick Bunk Anderson for that one and just couldn't get on the end of it, but a gorgeous cross there from Borges.
Give the defenders a little love here. David, you're right. Borges, very well done. I loved how it's whiffed behind the center back, so they're facing their own goal still. But then Bunk Anderson, what a touch, man.
He did. He got the touch.
He's in a good spot. He deflects the touch out. Very well defended. And then even does it in a sly way to get the goal kick. But with the number 10 pick.
I got to throw one in here because I feel strongly about this one.
Yeah.
FC Dallas, you went John Nelson positional first one. This one, I think, positional and developmental for them. J.J. Williams.
So I do think that FC Dallas will take the best available. And J.J. Williams might be in that mindset. I'm going to go personally.
Okay. It's your pick. It's your pick.
With Logan Gadula.
Okay.
I think that they're a little top-heavy up top right now.
You're taking 2 fullbacks.
They already have. Well, that's where they need their spots. That's
what are they?
That's
shot there, pushed wide by St. Clair. Sean Daly continuing to push this game forward. He's been aggressive all game. And a chance for St. Clair to show off his skills. Diving save, putting it around that post.
And one of my points with FC Dallas is, when we say FC Dallas, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Luchi Gonzalez?
The academy and homegrowns.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So do you draft a project at FC Dallas that then gets put in the same bucket as all as your potential homegrowns? That's what they did last year when they took, was it Tumasi and Atuahene?
Mm-hmm.
And I just very much did not like that strategy. I think if you're FC Dallas, you use the draft to find these near their prime, can contribute in some way quickly domestic players. And for me, that's John Nelson on one side, who's GA, which is nice. But with the 10th pick, I would take Logan Gadula.
Okay.
I put him into my depth chart somewhere at right back. He's a guy that likes to press, likes to play high energy, can get forward, just fits into what feels like should be the way FC Dallas approaches their roster building.
So can I bring this up? I'm just going to push a little more on this as the shot goes high. FC Dallas at center forward, Jesus Ferreira is the next player, right? A good, active, but undersized center forward. And Pepe as well, a USU 17, who's already been signed to their USL team. Another great center forward, not the biggest build. Montez Deca at UNC, scored a number of goals this year. He's an FC Dallas Academy player who they'll probably look to bring in as a homegrown next year. But no one the same profile as Williams except Coleman. Now, this depends on what's going to happen with Coleman. He's out for a sizable amount of time this year. You don't know if he's a player for the future for FC Dallas as you change regimes, different front office staffs, different coaches, as Daly gets down the line once again in an onside position, gets towards that end line, cuts it back, and it's blocked and goes out for a goal kick in the end. So beautifully done defensively in the end by DeVos.
Both DeVos and Osmond have had excellent games at center back for Team Copa today.
So that's my little pushback and argument there. Now I'm number 11.
But let me just tell you why you're wrong.
Okay.
Because they do have a player of that profile. They just signed Ondrejsik.
Oh, good call.
Ondrejsik is
He's the starter.
this combative handful, not quite the same athletic profile as Williams, but the same idea where he uses his body well.
And presses
And they
high.
also have Dom Badji, so they already have two professional caliber players.
Okay.
And then you can't, if you truly want to develop players from your academy to the first team, you can't just pile over them. And Jesus Ferreira is number 3 on that depth chart right now, and you've got to create some pathway for him to get minutes.
All right, number 11, the New England Revolution, back on the board. So these two clubs, a couple of high draft picks. I already took Peter Lee Vassell for the New England Revolution, so I feel like I have to go with a domestic player here for this team. When you look out and you look at all the players available at this spot, so we have the corner kick come in. Vassell takes that one. I think I'm going to go with Roy Boateng out of UC Davis. Boateng, one of the high performers on day one of the players that we've heard bounced around by all of the front office members as one of the better center backs in this class. I think Boateng gives you some physicality at center back, and they've used a lot of money at center back. It hasn't been productive so far as Borges gets into the box. Looks to clip that one to the far post. So that's what I'm going to go with.
A little bit of a reach. That's surprising. I don't think anybody, whether it's Travis Clark, Ives, or Matt Doyle, have had Roy Boateng that high. But I do get the impression that the New England Revolution are looking to fill that gap at center back from within the domestic market, and Boateng has the ability.
Chance here for Team Copa, pressing high. It gets pushed wide finally. Team Predator has been aggressive, at least trying to play out of the back, even in tight spaces.
So with the number 12 pick, it's the LA Galaxy on the board. And by my calculation, the Galaxy have a few real needs. They need a starting right back, a starting left back, probably a starting center back, depending on how they view their current players and whether they think they can get anything out of Jorgen Shelvik still.
But for sure, a backup center back.
Well, maybe not backup as much. They have Daniel Steers, who maybe is a starter, if not is a very good third option. They still have Tomas Hilliard Arce.
Oh, what school did he go to?
Stanford. Number
Took
2
you a
overall
moment
pick
there.
last year. But anyway, this is all to say they also need depth at forward. They've got Zlatan, they've got Kamara. I don't think they bring Kamara off the bench. They either find a way to fit him into the team or trade him, which means they still need somebody. So I will take with the number 12 pick, Santiago Patino, who I think would be a handful off the bench at the professional level. Maybe not good enough to start, but also it's a chance to learn from the best at a player who has a similar, I shouldn't say that. Nobody has a similar makeup or playing style to Zlatan, but at least one of the masters of the center striker position.
Interesting. All right. So the LA Galaxy take a center forward, Santiago Patino. Of course, they have a USL team they can put him on as well.
I want to point out, Drew Samuels is back on the field, and I think Drew Samuels has been perhaps the best player on the field on this second game. He was nearly flawless with his passing. He covered ground in the middle of the field. Questions on whether he's a right back or a center mid at the professional level, but he has had a strong performance today.
That one intercepted but lands at the feet of Junka. Junka with a curling shot blocked by the Team Copa defender, and now Peter Lee Vassell looking to clear out. Turned back over. Daly with an opening, and his shot straight into the hands of Dane St. Clair. So now I am the Philadelphia Union. I am on the clock here with the 13th pick in the MLS SuperDraft. Kyle Coffey here on the ball. Gets it to Elney. Elney with a little bit of space, trying to get an opening for a shot. The shot eventually blocked. Well defended there. Daly now playing out wide, where we saw him start in the first day of Combine games. Samuel showing off his touch there, playing on the right side. It's turned over there by Perez. Now a chance for Elney racing in, and Barraza read that one well, quick off his line.
David, have you forgotten the Union around the clock?
I haven't forgotten the Union around the clock. I have to think about what the Philadelphia Union are doing on the clock. Center back, obviously not a need. Center midfield, I would not take a piece as they have a lot of young guys they like.
So my notes say that the Union only have 2 goalkeepers on their roster.
Yep, I was thinking about it.
They need a third, perhaps a fourth goalkeeper. They need depth at both right and left back. And perhaps, depending on how you view David Accam, they need a starting right winger. Maybe they go to a 4-4-2 with their new signing up top with Corey Burke or CJ Sapong.
It sounds like they are, as Elney gets off there. I do think backup center forward is a spot for them. Corey Burke, 27 years old, so you hope continues to get better, but a spot you need to fill. But fullback is the other spot for them. So you take a look around this draft. I'm trying to think who I feel like fits them the best. Robbie Mertz here in one-on-one. And he puts it into the far post. What a moment there for Robbie Mertz. Creates a goal out of nothing by himself and puts his team up 2-0 in this one.
In a really big moment for Mertz. Here we see him playing on the left side, generally a central player, but faces his player 1v1 in such a perfect touch on the curler to the far post. Everyone knew coming to this combine that Robbie Mertz could offer your team something in terms of industriousness and work rate and keeping the ball in the middle of the field. But for him to show he's got that little extra touch of something will really speak to the people watching right now.
Mertz coming not out of a developmental academy, coming from the Pittsburgh area where there wasn't one at the time. Felt like University of Michigan was the biggest school that gave him an opportunity. So he took advantage of that, ended up being captain at the University of Michigan, was at the draft last year to support his teammate in Francis Atuahene. My mind blanks there. Trying to be GM, team president, head coach, and announcer all at the same time, Bobby. I don't know how guys like Greg Berhalter and Peter Vermees do it. They are impressive. Mertz now with a little bit of confidence towards the post. Off the post this time. And it comes back out for Samuels. Robbie Mertz putting on a show late here in the final game of the 2019 MLS Adidas Player Combine. Barraza out once again, aggressive off his line to clean it up. Mertz feeling himself right now.
Balling out.
And
here we see again, really the first time Mitchell Osman has been beaten like that all day, and then Mertz eyes up that far post. I'll tell you what, him and that far post are building a relationship.
Beautiful, Bobby. Absolutely beautiful. I'm going to say, by the way, I'm back on the clock for the Philadelphia Union, and I am going to say a stretch here, maybe, based on combine performance and what they've done and how players fit in. I'm going to go with Amir Bashti, the 13th pick. Blowing Bobby away, taking his Stanford guy, maybe a little bit early, but a guy who can give you possession on both wings as a backup, as well as potentially slotting in at times at central midfield. Obviously will spend time with Bethlehem Steel to start out, but gets a lot of playing time there.
Well, something to point out, too, is that it takes a lot of discipline to play in a system like Ernst Tanner wants the new Philadelphia Union to play in, and that's what Amir Bashti came from at Stanford. Jeremy Gunn, head coach at Stanford, loves an organized team, demands a ton from his players on the defensive side of the ball, and it took Amir really 3 years to figure it out until he became a starter at Stanford. So he's coming from a similar mindset of how the team wants to play. And that puts me on the clock.
At 14 as DC United.
Okay.
Seems like center back is an obvious hole for DC United. No defensive midfield and backup center forward as they lost Darren Maddox.
Yep, so DC United, some big names are still on the board. Dane St. Clair out of Maryland, Haji from VCU, J.J. Williams out of Kentucky. And it seems to me that DC United need a starting right back. O'Neal Fisher out with an injury. Paul Areola, it sounds like they want to play him at winger. They need a starting right back, probably a starting center back to pair with Steven Birnbaum, but also striker depth. And that's where I'm going to go with this one. And I'm going to take J.J. Williams off the board. Not only is he free on the cap because he's a GA, not only does he fill the need of striker depth, but he also provides something a little different to that team. We all know how Wayne Rooney wants to play, and J.J. Williams is not really that player. So we provide something a little different if they want to provide versatility in their style.
And something to point out, they need to build a full roster for Loudoun United in year one. That's a team that they'll be opening up in the USL, a brand new facility, 5,000-seat stadium, which will be the center of what will be their new training center, one of the nicest in the league, one of the best in the world. And so you bring in a guy like J.J. Williams, who you put in at center forward at that team. It sounds like they're close on Bustamante, a homegrown player they're pushing on Vines, who's played at center back for Maryland. So they're going to start to build out that roster, Bobby. I like that pick for you at number 15. Right after this free kick, the Colorado Rapids will go on the clock. Joel Rystrand lining this one up. Rystrand out of Creighton University, the right-footed shot, and that one goes over the crossbar. So at 15, the Colorado Rapids on the board.
The Rapids with needs at left back, looking for a starter. Edgar Castillo is gone. They signed Keegan Roseberry to play on the right side, but still a vacancy in the left.
They have Sam Vines, who is an academy player there.
My notes say they need an upgrade at center back, potentially a passer. You're probably not going to find that in the draft.
Williams rips that shot.
And also a shuttler in the middle of that diamond. They have Johan Blomberg. They have Boateng. They have Cole Bassett. So I think they're looking for potentially 3 starters, but I don't think you're finding any of those in the draft, David.
I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to go away from all of that and say that they need talent right now, and I think Saeed Haji gives them that opportunity. GA pick doesn't hit the cap as, let's be real, they're trying to build their roster out to have space for 2020 when it sounds like Skels and Gossi and Tim Howard's contracts will be up, so a chance to get there as well as just pure talent and attacking ability, a U.S. Youth International to bring a little bit more excitement to that team and bring some excitement to the field, and a guy that can come in and maybe be mentored a little under Kellen Acosta as this one goes over the top. So I'm going to go with Haji at the 15th pick.
That was smart. That was a good pick.
So now you, as LAFC, are on the clock with the 16th pick. Last year, of course, expansion team. So with the number 1 pick ever, they took João Moutinho, who they now traded to Orlando City right here. And they also took Tristan Blackman with the 3rd pick, who is still a part of that team.
LAFC only have 1 goalkeeper on their roster. They need a 2nd goalkeeper, a 3rd goalkeeper. Depending on what happens with Walker Zimmerman, they may need another center back, but again, probably not of the caliber they're going to find here. They might need a right winger, at least depth, as well as center back depth. But, David, I'm going to go with the goalkeeper, and I'm going to go with Dane St. Clair, the Generation Adidas player, out of Maryland. He doesn't count against the cap. He's already polished enough that he can contribute if he put into the pinch. I would like to see LAFC sign an experienced goalkeeper to really mentor Tyler Miller and push him, keep him on his toes. But Dane St. Clair is still on the board. I want to take him with the LAFC.
And we're already going to have an active week. It sounds like LAFC may have already traded that pick after hearing how poorly Bobby drafted it. John Thorrington said, get that one out there. It's going to be an active couple days. Sam Stejskal, of course, will be breaking news left and right. We expect an active draft day. Last year, David Accam moved, of course, on draft day. Ezekiel Barco signed officially on draft day, and then a huge amount of draft picks moved left and right as these teams start to build out for 2019. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us here. Thank you for being a part of our Combine coverage here in 2019 in Orlando City. And don't forget, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have about a 4-hour live stream where we'll, of course, get you all the picks, cover all of the additions, and then talk just about where these teams are going. What are the storylines? What are the additions that have already been made, and which teams have more moves coming over the next few weeks as we head into the preseason and then the 2019 MLS soccer season. For my partner, Bobby Warshaw, myself, David Goss, our head producer, Abner of Seves, my social man in the game, Dan Stelly. Thank you much for joining us, and have a great day. We needed the full 90 for the draft. Also, we were just go best available. And then